my husband built a small treehouse for our kids. It was his first project since recovering from surgery. The next morning, I found a complaint taped to our door. "Eyesores like this bring down the neighborhood." It was anonymous, but the handwriting matched our neighbors' Christmas cards. When we didn't take it down, someone filed a child endangerment report with the county. Inspectors showed up, took photos, and found nothing unsafe. But days later, the treehouse was burned to the ground. Charred remains. A marshmallow stick left inside. We checked the footage. Her daughter, wearing our son's hat. We moved to Forest Grove, Oregon, because we thought we'd finally found peace. After everything we'd been through with Dave's surgery, the nights in the hospital, the uncertainty, the tears we kept hidden from the kids, this quiet town felt like a second chance. It was the kind of place where neighbors waved, lawns were mowed like clockwork, and parents cheered at Little League games. It looked perfect. So when Dave said he wanted to build a treehouse for Lily and Max, I saw the spark in his eyes again. It wasn't just a project. It was him reclaiming something. Strength. Pride. A sense of purpose. He didn't rush it. Every plank was measured twice, every nail hammered by hand. He worked until his shirt stuck to his back and the sun dipped below the trees. The treehouse wasn't huge or fancy, just sturdy, simple, safe. It had a ladder, a tiny balcony, even a trapdoor. The kids were obsessed. They dragged pillows up there, play with flashlights at night, make up games for hours. Then, less than 24 hours after it was done, we found the note. It was taped to our front door, crooked and bold. "Eyesores like this bring down the neighborhood." No name. No return address. Just a single sheet of printer paper with blocky handwriting, angry and ugly. I stood there for a minute stunned. Then I brought it inside and showed Dave. He didn't say anything at first. Just stared at it. Folded it slowly. Put it on the counter. We both knew who wrote it. Every December, our neighbor, Melinda Peterson, delivered Christmas cards to the whole street. Her handwriting was all loops and fat capital letters. She even signed every card with a little heart next to her name. I pulled out last year's card from the junk drawer. Compared them side by side. Same exact lettering. Same aggressive cursive. R. Dave didn't want to start drama. "Forget it," he said. "Let it go." But I knew Melinda. She ran the HOA, sent out monthly newsletters, and spent her afternoons gossiping on her porch. That woman noticed everything. And she hated change. Still, we didn't respond. We thought maybe that was it. Maybe she just wanted to vent. We were wrong. A week later, 2 men in khakis and polos knocked on our door. County inspectors. "We're here about the tree structure," one of them said. "There's been a report of potential child endangerment." I looked at them like they were speaking another language. Apparently someone had filed a formal complaint, saying the treehouse was unstable, too high, built without a permit. They took photos, walked through the yard, climbed halfway up the ladder. I followed them with a knot in my stomach. 2 days later, we got the verdict in writing. No violations. No further action required. We showed the letter to the kids, told them everything was fine. But the mood had shifted. Dave had built something with love, and someone had tried to tear it down. The final blow came 3 nights later. Around 5:30 a.m., I woke up to a strange glow in our window. At first, I thought it was the sunrise. Then I heard Lily scream from her bedroom. I ran to the window. Flames. The treehouse was on fire. We called 911. By the time the fire truck got there, it was too late. The wood was black and beams collapsed, plastic parts melted into the grass. The only thing left intact was a marshmallow roasting stick lying in the middle of the ashes, half burned, charred black on one end. Dave stood there without speaking. His hands clenched. His face pale. That thing had been his comeback. His symbol. And someone destroyed it. We reviewed the security footage. Motion lights had kicked on around 2:11 a.m. A figure moved through our backyard, short, hoodie pulled up, face mostly hidden. They hesitated at the treehouse stairs, then climbed up. At one point, they turned slightly. And that's when I saw it. The hat. Max's red baseball cap. The one he'd lost last week. The camera resolution wasn't great, but the size, the way she moved, it looked like a kid. I paused the video and stared. It was Emily Peterson. Melinda's daughter. She was wearing my son's missing hat. And she had been the last person seen before our treehouse went up in flames. We didn't go to the police right away. Part of me was still in shock. Part of me didn't want to believe it. Emily Peterson had been over at our house dozens of times. Max's birthday party. Halloween. She'd even helped decorate the treehouse when Dave was still building it. She seemed like a sweet kid, quiet, polite, maybe a little strange, but harmless. Now we were looking at a grainy image of her climbing into the treehouse with a stick and a lighter in her pocket. We needed answers. Dave wanted to knock on the Petersons' door that night. I talked him down. I didn't want a scene. Instead, I suggested we wait until morning and talk to her parents with the video in hand. But before we could act, something else happened. That afternoon, Melinda Peterson sent out an HOA email blast with the subject line, "Concerning incident on Willow Lane." She didn't name names, but it was clear she was talking about us. She warned neighbors to watch out for unsupervised children and flammable backyard hazards. She mentioned irresponsible parenting and structures built without neighborhood input. Dave nearly punched a hole in the wall. We printed the email, along with stills from the footage, and marched across the street. Melinda answered in her usual pastel cardigan and fake smile. I didn't waste time. We need to talk. Now. She stepped outside, eyes narrowing the second she saw the folder in my hands. We have security footage of your daughter in our yard the night of the fire, Dave said. She was wearing Max's hat. We want to hear her side of the story before we take this to the police. Melinda's whole face changed. I'm going to stop you right there, she said, putting her hand up. If you're accusing my daughter of arson, you better be very careful. I opened the folder. We're not accusing. We're asking. She didn't look at the footage. She didn't even flinch. My daughter was asleep that night. She's a child. And if you're trying to blame a 12-year-old for your own backyard negligence, that's a serious problem. She was in the footage, Dave said. We have a time-stamped video. And her jacket matches the one she wore to school yesterday. Melinda crossed her arms. That's not proof. Anyone could have borrowed that hat. And frankly, after all the complaints you've gotten, it sounds like a lot of people aren't happy with that treehouse. That's when it clicked. She wasn't just covering for Emily. She hated us. She hated that we didn't run every decision through the HOA. That our kids made noise. That we didn't grovel after her anonymous complaint. That we fought back when she tried to bury us in red tape. We weren't just an inconvenience. We were a threat to her perfect little kingdom. I felt something harden in my chest. We weren't dealing with a misunderstanding. This wasn't just a mistake. This was war. We didn't go back to her house. Not after that smug little lecture. Not after she turned everything around and made us out to be the problem. But we weren't done. We took the footage to the police the next day. The officer we spoke to, Officer Landon, watched the video twice. He nodded slowly, said it was concerning. But his tone changed the second he heard the name Peterson. You're not the first family to have trouble with her, he said. But it's murky. He explained that since Emily was a minor, since the footage didn't show the fire starting, just someone entering the treehouse, and since no one actually saw her light anything, it was hard to move forward with charges. I can take this up the chain, he said. But don't expect much. Dave was furious. So a 12-year-old can walk into our yard, torch our kid's treehouse, and it's just nothing? Officer Landon sighed. If you had footage of her striking a match or holding a lighter, it'd be different. But right now it's just a kid in a hoodie going up into the treehouse. That's it. I could feel something inside me twisting. All that evidence, and still no justice. When we got home, I started digging. I pulled every HOA email from the past year. Every note Melinda had sent. I reread the bylaws. I started to notice something. Small things. Dates that didn't match. Fines that were issued without official votes. Expenses that weren't approved at meetings. It added up. Melinda had been abusing her position for years. The kicker came when I found a budget report from 3 months ago. $1,200 spent on landscape improvements. But no one on our street remembered anything being done. No new flowers. No new shrubs. Just a vague line item in a PDF she emailed out at midnight. I brought this to Dave. She's stealing from the HOA. He blinked. You're serious? Dead serious. So we got smart. I reached out to a neighbor 2 blocks over, Terry, who used to be on the HOA board. He hated Melinda. Said she pushed him out when he asked too many questions. He was eager to help. Together, we pulled more records. We found out Melinda had written checks to her own husband's landscaping company for fake work. That she'd issued warning letters to people she didn't like, but let her friends skate by with garbage piles and broken fences. That she once fined a new family for having a pink flamingo on their lawn, but had her own illegal patio built without a permit. We compiled everything. Not just the arson suspicion. Now we had embezzlement, fraud, abuse of power. We brought it to a lawyer. He looked through the documents, then looked up and said one sentence. You've got her. We didn't go public right away. We wanted it to hurt. So we waited for the HOA's quarterly meeting, the one Melinda always turned into her personal town hall. She'd stand at the front, all smiles and fake cheer, calling for order like she was running for mayor of the cul-de-sac. That night, the community center was packed. Folding chairs, coffee urns, clipboards. She started her usual speech about maintaining standards and family values. Dave raised his hand. I think it's time someone asked where the HOA money is really going. Melinda's smile flickered. What are you talking about? I stood up. I had copies of the fake invoices, the budget sheets, even a side-by-side of the landscaping company address and her husband's LLC. Where's the $1,200 from March, Melinda? You said it went to curb beautification. But your husband's company received the check, and nothing was ever done. The room went quiet. Someone in the back said, Wait, is that true? Melinda started to speak, but Terry cut her off. He stood and said, It's true. I was on the board. I never approved those expenses. And she forced me out when I started asking questions. That opened the floodgates. More neighbors stood up. Complaints. Stories. Lies they'd been fed. Fines they'd paid. One woman in tears over being harassed about her disabled son's ramp being out of compliance. Melinda tried to shout over it. She called us liars. Said we forged documents. That's when I dropped the final bomb. Your daughter was caught on our security camera the night our treehouse burned down. She was wearing our son's stolen hat. The fire department said it started from a flame inside the structure. You tried to destroy something we built out of love. And when that didn't work, you tried to destroy our reputation. She went pale. I want to make it clear. I continued. We brought everything to a lawyer. And if the board doesn't vote tonight to remove you and press charges, we'll take this to the state attorney's office. People murmured. Nods. Glares. Within 15 minutes, a motion was passed. Melinda Peterson was removed as HOA president, pending legal action. The lawyer filed charges the next morning: misappropriation of funds, HOA fraud, and neglectful supervision of a minor tied to property damage. The Petersons' lawyer tried to settle quietly. They offered money. We refused. We wanted it public. The story ran in the local paper. HOA president ousted amid fraud, arson allegations. Her husband's business tanked. They were forced to sell their home within 6 months. We rebuilt the treehouse. Higher this time. Stronger. Fire retardant sealant. Real windows. Even electricity. And this time, we installed cameras, 3 of them. Dave looked out at it one night, arms crossed, voice low. Still think we should have let it go? He asked. No, I said. We just needed to take our time. Because revenge, when it's real, isn't fast. It's not fire. It's the slow, deliberate wind that blows it all back in their face. And now? Now every time Melinda drives by to see her old house, she has to watch our kids playing in that treehouse, laughing in the shadow of her failure. Justice didn't just burn her down. It left her ashes behind to choke on.